All right. Well, we had to talk about this. Initially I just didn't care. It's like there's so much of this nowadays that I just didn't care. I saw the headline, I scrolled past it, and I just thought absolutely nothing more of it. I think a lot of people are the same as me in this aspect of Ubisoft canceling an Assassin's Creed game set in the post-Civil War era featuring a black assassin. They would fight the blah blah blah, fighting slavery, and it's it's something that it just didn't concern me at all. At first, I was just whoop, whatever, scroll right past it and don't care. But I think it's important that we talk about it because Assassin's Creed games, like to many gamers, are just it's a type of game. It's like fighting games. It's like RPGs. It's all these things. It's just a type of game. And unfortunately, Assassin's Creed games basically stopped in 2019. And maybe you can, Valhalla has its things, but for me, Odyssey was the, pinnacle of how far it would have come, and everything from that has just been, whatever. Because they can make so many good games, but this was clearly not a good idea. Obviously, made by people who are activist mindset, people who they are so obsessed with this stuff that they just cannot help but make their entire lives about it. And it's something that they do. Now, I'm not going to read through the comments because obviously on Twitter you're going to get the, obvious things that, people say. Twitter is not a friendly place for this type of things. And you have the common people who are just like, it's the best game ever. Kill Yahtzees. Blah, 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 blah. R words. Hey, and it's just their whole personality. But for me, you know, this era of our history is over. Those people are long gone who lived through this stuff, and it's over, and it's just such a eye rolling uh, thing. But of course, it's gonna take people who are leftist minded, stupid people who are like just like it's the best game ever. We love doing that to them, and like it just is the for the obnoxious crowd. It would have been a game for the obnoxious crowd, losers, chill goofs that just love this stuff. They make their whole lives about it. We're leftists. Fight for the rights of other human beings. Like we should have this in video games, and they make it just their whole lives. Now, you may remember if you've played Red Dead Redemption, it's set during a time when all this stuff was happening, and there was a lot of it in the game that you could do lots of stuff with, but it never made it its whole personality. It was a game about the West during a certain time period. It included elements of this. It didn't have anything to prove other than just putting a historical fact in there. And hilariously enough, you someone would go out and say Red Dead is woke because it has this or that and the other, but it is a game where it is very, very, very historically accurate, and and all the demographics of people feel right. It feels normal, and for the most part, even though Take Two is a pretty woke company, they exemplified it in a mature and rock star fashion. It wasn't the whole point of the game, even though like idiots online will be like, that's their whole thing. That's the only reason they play Red Dead. It is first and foremost an authentic cowboy game, very, very realized, very mature. Doesn't take this, but this just seems. It's just the type of people who are at Ubisoft. You know what I mean? This is just the type of people who do this kind of stuff. Was this Paul Tassi? Oh, of course, we got Paul Tassi's input on this. Assassin's Creed series recently produced a rather great installment in Shadows this year. I wonder why Paul Tassi said that. But I do wonder if it will ever revive the concept. I think it's a great game. This was the whole thing with that Indiana Jones game. Great idea for a game, and I would imagine it plays fairly well. It never looked overall horrible in what I've saw. That's fine. Gaming technology is now at a point where people can make video games like this, like that. So it didn't take a whole lot of creative passion and whatever to make this Indiana Jones game, but you had the whole crowd of people going, "Oh, look, we can punch Yahtzees," and "Oh, that's the whole game, the point of the game." Like, isn't it about like a treasure hunting dude who lives during a certain time period? But you know what I mean. Like, so while the U.S. is not in literal civil war, the country is divided to more points since the Civil War. Somebody who's drily exiled Donald Trump. Look, like he just cannot help but bring him up. And this is these TDS people is that they want to take and put the Trump era with all these other eras in history, and it's like, no, man, it's like the world is completely different. But this is the brain rot that these people have, is that they literally cannot make anything else in their lives about anything else other than leftist rights, and let's let people live their lives, and like, it's so cringe and stupid. But what is this? Barstool Sports. Oh God, this looks like a very goofy site. So Scoop: Assassin's Creed canceled post-Civil War Assassin's Creed game this year. And see, here's the thing: is that, oh God, I don't even want to know what this site, how much kind of griminess the site has. Ubisoft is a really weird company, and their ability to screw things up sometimes. Yep. That is the truth. That is what Ubisoft's all about, is that they can make good games. I love lots of Ubisoft games, but man, have they ever fucking cratered the quality sometimes. Games like Watch Dogs I was never into. Games that, like the Rainbow Six type things that they've done, I don't know. They've taken it in so many, and of course they're the wokest motherfuckers on the planet. Assassin's Creed says you spend time playing a Japanese into his original character and an African samurai who's based on the real life named Yasuke. But yeah, I mean, this is, so they have this. I'm not going to say this because who knows what fucking YouTube already tries to kill my channel so hardcore. I'm not going to bring that up. Basically, Django Unchained. Now, Django Unchained, if you are a leftist, crazed person who likes to watch this kind of stuff, Django Unchained is a great fucking movie. It is fucking awesome. But making a whole game, and Django Unchained's whole thing wasn't the fact that, it was doing that. It had segments of that, and it was handled in a mature way. But yeah, it wasn't what they had in mind with this Assassin's Creed game. And now a Django Unchained game would be freaking awesome, and they should make that, but they're too stupid to make that. Let's see what Reddit says, because Reddit, of course, is just going to be like, this game would have been the best fucking game ever, let's go. This sucks. This could have been such a cool premise, and they even put it on real. It's like, what are they doing? Articles Ubisoft. Look, Ubisoft should have really released Django Unchained work, because Django Unchained worked. This is not what Django Unchained was. The Django Unchained was a good story about a very, embellished history type of timepiece, and but it wasn't what they had in mind with this game. This game is just going to be anti-white propaganda 24/7 in the thing. Whereas if you remember, Django Unchained was very mature. You know, you had two characters of different racial statuses, and it was wickedly handled. But to make an Ubisoft racism simulator, it would just have been, it would have been the icing on the cake of the modern woke era. Now let's talk about something here, because these people are obviously on Reddit going to be coping and seething over this. They canceled it. Oh my god, those evil, you know, they suck. They gave in to the Trump people. 2 months of this. On one hand, video games are art and should be allowed to mean shit. Blatant obvious statement like, yeah, because stuff is always gonna be obvious. On the other hand, I hate, yeah, maybe it's about his actual polarizing statement. So, Judge continue to ruin everything. Hey, they said that we had no effect on these games. They said that they're just gonna keep making woke games, and when people like us, you know, right-leaning people say something, it means nothing. Well, look what fucking happened. Now, let's talk about something here. Because Hypnotics. I did some AI-ness to this too, because it's pretty hilarious to think about it. They just canceled the Assassin's Creed game for social justice. That's hilarious. Hypnotics, great. But anyway, so of course there was a lot of whining and crying from likes of IGN and stuff, because this is the kind of material that they just get off over. And this moron Rhino, who's just the biggest loser shill on fucking Twitter over like wokeness. I'm Rhino the bouncer. Love fucking wokeness so much. They realistically speaking canceled this for a reason. They were working on concept art. They were maybe making parts and elements of the game. They had drafted it. They had talked about it. They had done all this stuff. But you know what? They fucking canceled it for a reason. Because they said it was to do to the political climate. And look at the gamer. Oh god, what is it asking me to do here? It's unbelievable that Assassin's Creed canceled its coolest concept ever. You know what would be a fucking really, really cool concept for an Assassin's Creed game? But they'll never touch, because they never touch on this element of human history that I absolutely love. It's called, oops, just gonna, yeah. Anyways, they never touch on this time period, the Zulu Wars. Now, if you don't know history, this is like Britain, you know, the British Empire in Africa fighting literally like tribal warriors, and it was a big fucking thing that happened in history, but they won't touch this time period. Not in games, not in movies, not in films. Why? Because colonialism, and they don't want to portray African people as like tribes living in fucking huts fighting with spears. They're just like, no, we can't have that. You know, they've got to be in like America. They got to be like wearing nice clothes. They have to be, you know, you cannot show. And that's so stupid, because if African people were so proud of their heritage and culture, you would think that they'd want to show like Zulu warriors, like the Zulu Wars. You know, make an Assassin's Creed game where you're a Zulu warrior, like hunting through the jungles, taking out fucking, you know, British Empire soldiers. But no, can't, can't make them look like, you know, tribes people, you know, primitive type people. And that's what it was. It was the Zulu Wars were these crazy time period that would be like so amazing in movies and games and stuff, because like you literally have like the advanced, you know, farther advanced like British Empire with, you know, gunpowder and you know like all these like technological advancements and military prowess against like literally tribal warriors who are like hunting with stones and you know like masking themselves as animals to like things. It's a really cool time period. But yeah, no, it's the coolest idea ever to make a thing during like the slave civil war of times. What, you dumbasses. But this is what it said. So Ubisoft is exploring different parts of history and installment launched in 2007. Blah 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 blah. Dumb shit. That's saying this is so great. According to a new report, it's post-Civil War, early development. It was in early development. Now, like I was saying, they canceled it for a reason. Like this could have, like they should have gone ahead with this. All signs point to it. They made Yasuke the most like ridiculous woke adaptation we've ever seen. Obnoxious game. Had to push the woke agenda. Black people are better than actual people from Japan. These types of things, and they canceled this. Why? So it says that when you go through here is that it's not surprising they cancel a game. The reaction to having a black lead Yasuke was a point of Fox controversy in the game's launch with detractors. What, you mean like 90% of the gaming population? This game did worse than fucking Veilguard on fucking Steam, and Veilguard was an enormous failure. Assassin's Creed Shadows was a fucking failure for Ubisoft. But you know what? You're never going to hear about it. Why are you never going to hear about it? Because they can say Veilguard was a failure and it didn't live up to expectations. That's EA, but Ubisoft is never going to come out and say a game centered around a black dude was a failure. Why? Because they'd like feel they're racist themselves or something. It's so funny, but yeah, I mean they're just making stupid. But let's call it what it is: cowardice. Oh my god! Shut the fuck up. Gamer is the biggest woke goons that there is out there. Ubi's management got scared. You know what? I think that it's not to do with like Ubisoft management. You know what? I don't know, guys. Like we just came out a game where we totally appropriated Japanese culture and made it all about rewrote Japanese culture and insulted Japan, insulted all these like you know what I mean? Like they just totally insulted Japanese culture with Shadows. But no, we can't make a game about the during the Civil War slavery time. But here's why it probably got canceled is the investors and their legal teams and their this and that all in the Trump era were like, yo, you guys can't make this. Like, sorry. The management was like, what? Oh, you guys are standing up to, you guys are doing to Trump and you guys are doing this for Trump and like, what are you talking about, you evil people? You're standing up for our words. No. It's like the Ubisoft management didn't say it. Like these woke fucking retards didn't go out and say, you know what, guys, I don't think we should make this because it's could be offensive to people and people could be really upset about it. No, they didn't. There was someone telling them that they can't fucking make it. But like I said with Red Dead Redemption, it was handled in a very mature way. Red Dead is kind of goofy and it was kind of funny. It's just like Django Unchained. They didn't make a big deal about it. But someone sat down with the script in some fucking Ubisoft office somewhere and was like, here's what we're working on. We're working on a game about, you're a black assassin. You go around murdering all these, like, these people. They're evil. They're our words. It's like, dude, you realize you're making like a totally racist simulator? It's like, well, yeah, well, they're racist to them, so we have to make it this way. It's like, yo, you can't do that. You can't just make it because you have, like you social justice warriors. You can't just make racist simulators. And that's what happened is that Ubisoft's legal team or, someone in the investors board said, like, you guys can't make this. Like, I'm sorry, you just there's no. It wasn't the Ubisoft management that came out and said, maybe we shouldn't make this, because of course we're gonna get all the leftists just loving us. I don't know. It's truth be told, is that the reason they canceled this is because it most certainly had very controversial aspects to it. Not about, the ghost people, not about, it's twist on slavery and early Civil War time and history, it's because it literally probably was a, pro BLM, pro, anti-white type of uh, entertainment piece. And then you had all these levels of there's checks and balances and people who, look over the Ubisoft's legal team and they were like, you can't make a game that is like this racist. That's what they said. That is what happened. That is what happened. I'm calling it right now. This guy's pretty cool. Bellular game. You're telling me to cancel James? What the fuck? That would have been dope. It wasn't that. It wasn't Django Unchained. It was literally anti-white. It was, like that. And all these fence sitters were thinking that this was just like, an idea and a concept. I'll tell you why they made this game. They made this game because they wanted to do that. It came down the fact that it was literally like, and this is another thing that could have happened, is that there would have been rumblings in the offices of these games saying, you know what, like during the Trump era, like someone can come after us for this. Someone could come and say, hey, you're making a game that is like very derogatory and racist towards black people. It's like, how is that not a thing? I have talked about Reloaded. I actually played Reloaded demo for a while. It is, and as a white person, I feel this way very strongly with this woke stuff. And this is why a lot of people like me and most of gamers are on the side of anti-woke, is that as a white person, I feel like this entertainment, you see like Netflix shows and you see the woke commercials and you see wokeness in gaming. It's very derogatory towards white people. It's almost as if we're some bad type of people, and I feel very offended by that. And because I bet you like 90% of Ubisoft's upper brass are white, I would imagine that the legal teams and the shareholders and these people were saying, you can't make a game where we could face prosecution for racism. And that is what's been happening a lot in gaming, and I think why a lot of this stuff, although we get lots of woke and you get dumb shit here and there, I think that the reason they haven't made just absolute diatribe, complete anti-white type sentiments, is that I think that a lot of this is being in the back end, is there's some legal challenges for these people, is that they're very much being suppressed by people saying, and it's like, this is a thing, is that, you cannot make a game, you cannot make shows, and they sneak it in and they try and do whatever they can to make it this way. But there's surprisingly a lot, even for coming from people who look like me, people who just deeply have animosity towards light-skinned people. It just a very, we're wrong, we're bad, these people are terrible, we shouldn't exist, no more, them kind of controlling the world, so to speak, and it's getting them into trouble. And this is exactly what happened with the Assassin's Creed, this game, is that they took it too far. They shit all over Japan for Shadows. They made Japan look like an absolute playground zoo for, a rampaging big black dude. But they took it too far with this. They were like, it was like just complete racism, and they had to get shut down. And like, all these articles are talking about, they didn't do it because it was too controversial. Like, it was Ubisoft's decision that did it. No, it wasn't. It was like someone maybe at Ubisoft telling them that you cannot make this because It's too offensive. And isn't that fucked up that they are trying? Can you imagine if the roles reversed? Can you imagine if someone said, you know what, they cancel the game about, you're a British colonist going and trapping and, putting other peoples in cages. They canceled that. There'd be fucking like there'd be there'd be so much protest online over that. So the it's messed up that that's where we're at in the culture, is that one side can like literally almost get away with just putting out racist propaganda, and that they seem to want to get away with that. Isn't that fucked? I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. That's probably why I mean, I know for sure that's why they canceled it, because Ubisoft would have done it. Their woke departments would have done this if they could have gotten away with it. It would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling, lawyers and people who overwatch and they're trying. They're going to try and come out with this kind of stuff. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Peace.